BL 2025-07, 2025-08, and 2025-09, and it starts now at 7. Public hearing is called to order, and if Councillor Smith would read our floor.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge our meeting place, the City of Flin, Flon Council Chambers, is situated on the ancestral lands of the Treaty 5 territory. We'd like to acknowledge that we also work in partnership with First Nations in Treaty 6 and 10 territories and the Red River Métis Nation.
Thank you. We do have to read these parts to make this all official, so I will read. This is a notice of public hearing under the authority of the Planning Act. On the date and the time and location shown below, a public hearing will be held to receive representations from any persons who wish to make them in respect to the following matter. There are 3 matters: the City of Flin Flon bylaw number 2025-07, being an amendment to the City of Flin Flon Development Plan number 37/83, City of Flin Flon bylaw number 2025-08, being an amendment to the City of Flin Flon zoning bylaw number 2784, and the City of Flin Flon bylaw number 2025-09, being an amendment to the City of Flin Flon zoning bylaw number 2784. Okay, so that is the official part of that. And from there, again, I say welcome everybody. I'm glad we've got a good crowd to have the discussion we're going to have, with the information we're going to have. Casper's got up for you, telling you that this is a public hearing, a zoning bylaw and a development plan. So there are 2 things going on. They're 2 separate things. And so we'll talk about them from there. Now, Casper, are you going to be changing these for me, or?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'll be patient and I'll wait. Well, a little bit. What's that? Oh, okay. So the next thing was, has everyone signed in? If not, please make sure that you do before you leave the place, because it's important in order to make this work. If you're not sure, right around out the door to the right are washrooms if you need one, so feel free for that. Beyond that, is there any other things? No? Okay. So looking at the public hearing, we're going to have some information for you, and then we'll open it up. And again, it says, and I'll read it right there, the development plan provides general planning direction in line with the community's vision for growth. So a zoning bylaw outlines details used for parcels of land in accordance with the development plan. And both define what can be built in a given area, but are not plans for the construction of themselves. So the one of them is, we need to change our development plans around the community at different times for different uses in different areas. It happens all the time, not necessarily frequently, but it happens. And rezoning, you all know what that is. I believe in different areas of the community are set up with different land use designations, which can be changed, but they can be changed, under a certain set of rules, and that's what we're working on right now. Okay. Again, here it's as simple. The hearing, the process behind a public hearing is just that. Somebody makes a proposal, and we've had a proposal on the books for a long time showing a strategic need and a proposed project. And you all know what the need is, and you all know what the project is, or else you wouldn't be sitting here. There is preliminary reviews, and that shows, again, technical suitability, environment concerns, regulatory needs. So some of that has been done, some will continue to be done as we go along. And or won't be continuing. And the public consultation is the part that we're at right now. So the whole idea is for us to hear, to make sure that you understand what the plan is, or the potential plan is, and that you have a chance as a public to speak to it, and speak to it in, real nice conversations, decent conversations. We don't want to get into wars here, no matter. I understand some people have strong feelings, but let's try and just, keep this going in a nice way. So in the end, after we've had our conversations, we will be tasked with making a decision, and we'll have to live with that and face you with it. Okay? That's what we're here for. Now, these are the things you want to see. Our part is, this is not a debate. We're here to listen to what you have to say. We just want you to understand, what it is we're talking about. We might ask questions if we don't understand what it is you're saying to us. We'll do that. It's not starting a debate. Residents can ask for more information about the proposal, and it's our job to make sure that whatever we know, we pass on to you. So it has to be clear to you what's happening here. And again, filling out the sheets, that's the whole idea. Fill out the sheets on there so that we know who's here, and then eventually we'll know your positions on it. Okay? And here we are, the rationale, and that's, most of you have heard it before, but we'll go through it. We require a wider variety of available land suitable for housing. This includes single-family housing that are desirable and suitable for construction, also multi-family housing for rental units. So there are two parts to what we're proposing here. We want everybody to be clear that there are two pieces of land adjoining. Hi, come on in. There are two pieces of land that are nearby, but they have different uses and can be treated as separate issues. So, you know, you can speak to one, you can speak to both, but they are separate issues. And one is the single-family part that you know where the park is, and the other one is for multifamily down there where the BMX park would have been, or, you know, towards the highway. So two separate pieces, and the map should be able to show you those. Casper? Again, here's the existing plan as it is, and there's your housing. And you can see across the way both the park and the trail that gets out of the park and the waterway behind it. So the proportions of what everything is pretty clear there too. And it'll be even more clear when you see the next one, which is there. The proposed plan for the single-family development is in the center of the park, not utilizing the whole thing and not going past that path that's in the back. The path would still be there, as would the green space behind there to the waterway. Okay, so none of that would change. It would alter a couple of things, and I know a couple of sports people here would say it alters a couple of those things. So I think that's pretty clear by the picture. And what else have we got, guys? That's it. Okay, so I think this is the one here, which is your turn. And on the your turn section, I know that we do have, if I understood, we have two delegations prepared to speak before we go any further, right? So Leslie Fabianic, I think the floor is yours. Here, there, wherever you're happy.
Okay, I have a podium, maybe? I have an ear issue, so if I'm too loud, just tell me. Okay. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for allowing me this time to speak about Kingsway Park. My name is Leslie Papianic, and my family and I have lived on Princess Boulevard for 36 years. This beautiful park in our community offers a designated walking path and many mature trees with a creek meandering through it. Disc golf is promoted with many of their nets set up there. Many Flin-Floners jog and cycle through this park regularly as part of their healthy, active lifestyle. The beauty of this park is a sight to behold from all angles. This is the view the residents of Kingsway Boulevard have through their front windows every day. When this view from your front window changes, it would be distressing for the entire neighborhood. I encourage you to take a walk through this park and see what it really means to our community. Many communities would love to have this type of natural green space. Green space is planned when developing a new community. We already have that, and it should not be taken away from us. Why this park? The turnover rate in this neighborhood is very low. Residents have lived here 20, 30, 40, and even over 50 years. That says a lot. People love to live in this neighborhood, and saving Kingsway Park would not only keep this precious resource for this loyal neighborhood, but also invite the whole of Flin-Flon to enjoy its beauty and wonder. Adjacent to this park is the now impassable Pine Street Bridge. No one can cross that bridge. A sidewalk has recently been built on the other side of this bridge. I have a question. How do we, the residents of Kingsway Boulevard, Princess Boulevard, Parkway Boulevard, and Green Street have access to that sidewalk if we cannot cross the bridge? I suggest that you make the bridge narrower so a stroller or wheelchair can cross it, but not wide enough for a quad or a skidoo. This would open up access to the bridge for the many people who walk or jog. I know that we are fortunate to have a designated green space in our neighborhood. We appreciate the thought and planning required to create and maintain it. We would like this space to remain as it is, green. We believe that other areas are more suitable for development. Note the support for this park here tonight. Please save Kingsway Park. Thank you for giving me this time to voice my objection to development of this land. I know I speak for many people. We only need to think back to this past summer to know how truly lucky we are to have this wonderful park in our town. Thank you.
Anybody have a question for Shauna Rutherford?
Hi, good evening. My name is Shauna Rutherford, and I have lived on Princess Boulevard for just a little less, almost 32 years. And I actually walk into Kingsway Park almost every day. Kingsway Park has a city-developed walking path, hosts disc golf, whose sign and map in the court shows the course and its sponsors, which includes the city of Flin, and would have to be removed if this goes forward. And it is a green space that is used by many. It is rare that I do not see someone else when I'm in the park. I guess I would like to know why Kingsway. I feel that the multi-unit dwelling proposal needs some clarification for our community. I would ask why you would take away the bike park, but in spite of it being hailed by city councillors at the time of development and being heavily used when first built, it has not been promoted or maintained. In fact, it has been actively destroyed by the dumping of snow each winter. So instead, I will ask this. What is the intended target for this housing? General population? 55 plus? Low-income rentals? Of the three, I believe the only the development of additional 55 plus housing units somewhere within our city would fill the needs of our community. There appears to be an abundance of rentals within Flin already. Our rent is already low compared to other communities. Anyone who has lived elsewhere or has kids attending post-secondary institutes already knows this. I did not look very closely at commercial lots or lots not for sale, but I am curious as to why areas such as Adam Street, Fort Hemlock, area by Walmart Cantire, the Flin Hotel, and actually when I was just at the presentation at Whitney House and looking at the maps there, some of the areas identified there for future development aren't being considered for this. I'm extremely opposed to the development of single-family housing within the park. We do not need additional lots. Our population right now is low compared to historic times. If you did develop additional 55 plus housing in Flin that would create lovely homes for sale. In looking at the map and the list of properties for sale on the city website, it shows there are over 100 serviced, buildable, vacant lots, as well as 16 that are listed as serviced but with buildings on them already. When I review the map, 30 of those are in the same general area, or within the same general area as this proposed development. There are still 9 lots available up on Roche and Merton, the last residential development that I believe the city had. There are 20 lots within the Wellaville, Lakeside, Lakeview, Birchview area. And I'll be honest, when I counted the lots, I didn't, even though they were on the map, include the ones that I know were the parking lots on the town area, because although they show on the map as for sale, they're being used, and I don't think that's realistic. I feel that the focus needs to be on promoting infill housing, on collecting taxes on the properties that we already have, rather than paying city employees to mow and maintain them. I think that taking away pieces that make our community desirable, such as the Kingsway Park, is not a positive move. Thank you.
Scheduled speakers. Is there anybody else who wants to speak while you're here? Yes. And identify yourself, please, to the crowd as well. They probably don't know you.
Hi, neighborhood. I'm Heather Thiessen. I'm the one who circulated the flyer online. And I guess we're introducing ourselves by saying how long we've lived in the neighborhood. So I've lived there for 15 years. And I'd like to thank my neighbor Shauna for pointing out the existing lots that are available. That's an amazing point, and I appreciate that very much. So obviously we know we're here to discuss the future of Kingsway Park, a park that I was married in. And I know there's probably another couple here that was circulating that they were too. Yeah, so like we know how beautiful and special this park is. So I'm going to speak to how this decision to cultivate this development, this rezoning and development, does not reflect our values as a community, and it does not reflect the obligations that we have to care for one another and for our community. To start, I'd like to acknowledge that this is an active city council that is future thinking, and it is taking steps to improve our community and to plan for a healthy future. But this plan to develop the park is not the best expression of that future planning. We make our fundamental values as a community obvious in several ways. For example, this evening we opened this meeting with the land acknowledgement. That speaks to our values of engaged land stewardship. We need to stop and think about what that really means. It's not just a sentence or two. It's not just an empty formality. It's a call upon us to stop and to think about our values and how we are carrying out our stewardship of the land that we live on and share together as Flin Flonners. We need to honor that value that we have as a community by protecting our natural lands. We need to act on our values by not developing those natural lands unnecessarily. And as my neighbor Shauna has pointed out, we already have a fair number of open lots, a number of lots that rival what we have open here. Kingsway Park is part of our natural lands in our community, and we need to decide if developing it like this reflects the values that we espouse when we read that land acknowledgement in this room. Further, our community slogan is the water and the wild. That further demonstrates our value of nature and our ethics of valuing our land here in the north. Our community has that campaign that encapsulates us and promotes us to the world, and our community presents itself to the world and back to ourselves as a community as one that values our forests, our parks, and our community as a place that takes our stewardship of the wild around us very seriously. We can't just make that a simple slogan. It's not just words. It's not empty words. And we need to take the actual foundation of what water and the wild means to our community. This park is part of the charm of our community. It's part of what makes our community, what our community is looking to develop here as a lifestyle community. This wild nature is part of our lifestyle up here. Not just when we go out into the woods, but it's incorporated into the heart of our very community. It's part of the natural and peaceful community we try to cultivate and present to the world. Destroying it is contrary to that value that we hold as Northerners and Flin Flonners. We act on this value every day in our community, and this city council often acts under those values as well, so I know they hold them dear. We've cultivated some parks into very formalized and developed parks. Like we have our lovely splash pool at Rotary Park. We have the brand new play structure park on Centennial Crescent, which I'd have died for when I was a kid, George. Like, why didn't we have that up there then? We've also acknowledged that some of our parks are more wild. We've developed Gillis Park into a food forest, which is amazing and a brilliant use of that land. We've developed our nature walk around Ross Lake in the form of a boardwalk. And we all know from walking on it, large parts of that are just nature, and we're moving through it. We also make wise choices with our land, like we've placed the Aqua Center back into its original space. Rather than sprawling it out, clearing new land, clearing new space, we reused. We have chosen to ensure that we redevelop already developed areas to protect and preserve what we have as natural areas and to keep them safe, accessible, and enjoyable for our community. When we act on these shared values, our values become our reality as our community. Preservation and protection of our land and resources is very clearly one of the values of our community. So protecting Kingsway Park from development is reflective of our values of our community. And so I urge you to continue acting on these values that I know we all share when you look at this development plan. Also, as a community, we have obligations to one another. Our city council is here and they act as citizens that perceive our shared obligations and then shepherd our community through fulfilling those obligations. But there are a few considerations of our obligations to one another in the context of Kingsway Park that we really need to consider. The first is accessibility. And this is a developing hot topic in Canada. I know because I have to manage accessibility in Hudbay. And I've heard this team talking about the same problem on City Beat. It's to ensure that our infrastructure and areas of our community are accessible to the full spectrum of citizens in our community. And I know that our community is becoming subject to accessibility formalized legislation as well. So we're thinking about it when we look at every park and every building. Kingsway Park can be driven into. It is like an easily and readily accessible piece of the wilderness. So if you are a person who can't necessarily go out into the wild, you can access it here in this park. So don't discount that this simple green space can be reviewed for both an easy win for the members of our community to have accessible wilderness, but also for City Council to meet accessibility obligations. So it's safe and it's easy to access. And I point out right now too, that while our City Council is pointing out that the development at the front maintains the back and the path, what it really, we all have used the park, what it's really turning the park into is the creekside and the wilderness there is kind of becoming a back alley. What's going to happen here regarding accessibility is that no woman is going to run through that park or walk through that park by herself, trapped between buildings and the forest. You're making it inaccessible. We have an obligation as a community and as our City Council to spend our money wisely and what's best for our community, and to ensure that we have the best infrastructure for our community. So here's something to think about. We need to stop thinking about this park as undeveloped land or an area with potential to be built infrastructure, and understand it's actually infrastructure as it is. Bear with me, I'm not crazy, okay? Parks, particularly a tree park, provide something called climate resilience for communities. And I'm sure you've thought about this. I'm sure this has been a hot topic as well. They help a city regulate itself. They help a city regulate temperature by providing a natural regulator in the form of the trees in the undeveloped land. Think about it like nature is breathing in that spot that's not covered by concrete and development. And it helps buffer us against the effects of climate change within our community, which unfortunately we know is coming for us and we saw in full development this summer. They also, parklands like this that are undeveloped create a natural watershed. So there is actual financial, economic value in a park that's like this. It lies in what doesn't have to be built as infrastructure to do the same job. So think about it this way. This parcel of green space allows for drainage and watershed where you don't have to build an infrastructure of pipes and plumbing and drainage. It's free infrastructure. And urban forests like this have actually been reviewed in terms of their hard financial value by communities like Halifax, Montreal, and Vancouver. And they actually end up providing financial savings when those communities looked at it because of their contribution to air quality, energy distribution, stormwater management. These studies looked at how this simple, low-cost green space actually replaces built infrastructure and acts as against the effects of a community's hard infrastructure. And the city of Saskatoon, thinking about closer to home, actually reviewed the financial value of their parks as part of their green strategy in 2020. So I know here, my neighbors have already talked about it, I know there's others that will, that are talking about a lot of social infrastructure. And I have too, right? I got married in the park, I'm very fond of it. My neighbors with children are going to speak very passionately about the park and how their families grew up there. Anyone who's gone scrounging around in the woods has seen the fort that the kids have built year upon year. If you've seen it this year, it's amazing. I don't know what they were doing this summer. It's the biggest I've ever seen it.
I agree.
Yeah, they got tools and everything out there. They were as busy as for the weavers. If you ever need a stick, you gotta go to that fort. They have the best sticks. I can speak as well to the people that come every year to that park for photos. I have seen so many grad dresses out the front window, because it's a very popular place to get your grad dress, or families that come in their matching plaid shirts to get their family photo taken every year. And every year, we know exactly who's taken up a health and fitness program, because we see them suddenly in the park. This is also a natural space in our community that's readily accessible for harvesting. I'm a mushroom picker. I will not be telling you what mushroom grows there and when, but trust me. These are all demonstrations of how the park forms an important place in the community just as it is, but also looking at it from the perspective of the people who have to manage the city's coffers. It's a cost-effective space. It's not lost revenue. It's not lost revenue in lost lots that can be sold in tax. It is in itself right now cost-effective because it's a cost saving, and I don't think you've reviewed it from that perspective quite yet. Also, as an aside, I thought of this when I was researching this. We all know that the entire infrastructure around the creek, from the swamp through to Ross Lake, there's very little on the other side of it, right? It's a really wide swath. I would not rush to develop anything around there. I would contemplate why the city planners left it so wide and open. You might be opening a can of worms by developing up too close to it. It might actually have been planned as a watershed. Finally, well, almost finally, I'm only going to talk for another minute or two, I promise. The city, we have an obligation to engage in wise development. The city is looking to develop out Brant Lake and further developing Channing. That's an interesting idea. So we're looking at developing out into these areas, and presumably the planning for those areas themselves are going to include parkland, development sensitive to the environment, maybe community housing like apartment buildings. So isn't it a waste of our park to essentially obliterate it and congest this area and then expand out into another area, make the suburbs nice, and leave our city congested? That's not wise development. So I would ask you to rethink that choice. Don't we want our entire community to be beautiful? The entirety of Flin Flon? The part that is the old part and then the new parts that will be developed? I would like it all to be equally beautiful. Please don't destroy this park and leave the city with none of the amenities that you're planning for the new areas. We have areas in town that are already developed, and we could reuse them before we destroy a natural area like this. We have derelict swimming pool areas, old splash pool areas. We have the cleared out curling club areas. Reuse of developed spaces is part of our obligation to one another. To revitalize areas where we've pulled down buildings and where we have old infrastructure. We can really apply the same concept of reduce, reuse, recycle to community land use, just the same as we apply it to bottles and cans. Redevelopment is better for our community. Turning the rundown areas into new spaces and revitalizing them so our whole community is livable and lovely. Obliterating the park is not in line with any of the values and the obligations that I've laid out that we have to one another. We have to lead with our values as a community and honor our obligations to care for one another and our land, because we're living together and working together to build our community. We need to stop looking at this park as undeveloped space and understand that it has enormous value just as it is. It's in its natural state, and it reflects who we are and what we value as our community. It is precious, and it is irreplaceable. Developing this park into lots for housing will be a step that is completely contrary to who we are as a community, and it is imposing something on us as a community that we absolutely do not want. I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
There's a pretty clear feeling coming through. Is there someone else who'd like to speak?
Yes. Hello, my name is Brian Bonnier. I am a resident that lives on Kingsway. Much like her, me and my wife got married right outside our big picture window. Every time we open that up, we wake up, we're blessed. Much like everybody else in this community who is blessed to have this park along with us. And now, these fine ladies did an excellent job on going through pretty much everything. So there's not much for me to say, besides this is a massive green space. Our child has had many birthdays here, as well as probably many other children have throughout the years. Now, my wife made a petition, an online petition. There are many comments on here, and there are many online signatures. There are 439 online signatures here.
Again, I say, somebody else want, yes?
Can we ask questions?
I think so. We'll see what we can do with them.
Basically, I agree with everything that the previous presenters have said, and basically they made some major points. My question is why? That was never properly explained to us, why you have to get 10 residential lots and a big area in partially a wetland, which is environmentally significant, when we have all these empty lots in town. Do you have some agreement with another developer who wants this area and has said, if we get this zoning, we'll think about putting up some buildings? Because it seems to me this rather parallels the rezoning for the Joe Brain area, where I believe some developer said if we can gain access to the land with rezoning, we'll think about putting in a residence here, some kind of an apartment building. And you see how far that went. Yeah, yes, no, I don't know.
I'm waiting for you to finish talking. I won't interrupt you.
Yep.
No.
There's no development.
Yes, it is. The answer is no. There is no developer waiting to use that at this particular point in time. The argument was just simply one put forward that that's an area that would accommodate new people who would want to build not with older structures around them and maintain the values of their homes. So there are arguments that people make for this as well. And we do not have a customer waiting in line right now. We're not doing it for a specific person or persons. And we're not actually doing anything. It's a proposal. So what we're doing right now is this is the reason why we're having, I'll speak to say this, the reason why we're having a meeting like this is so that it helps us to make up our minds what to do when these proposals are made. They're serious proposals, they're rational proposals. So what we do as a serious and rational council is say, let's put this forward, let's let the community speak to it, see what they think about it. If it comes out that that's going to be, as a council, that we listen to people and say, that's not going to fly, then it's not going to fly. But if you're asking if we have some ulterior motive or there's some secret cable going on, no, there's none of that, okay? It is just an idea to try, because it's quite simply, you know, it could be $30,000, $40,000 a year in taxes coming to the community, which if it was to come to fruition, that's the reason behind it, is to make some money for the community, because otherwise, in making the choices that you are, which is something that I've actually been touting even at the last meeting, is we make some choices as a council that are not economically sound, you know. So we do things like build big pools that, you know, they're never going to pay for themselves, but they'll be here for the people. We're maintaining things like Camp Whitney so they'll be here for the people. And if we turn around and we look at this and decide that we're not going to do it because enough, you know, if the feeling is that it goes with the way it's been saying and nothing is proposed, then it's a lack it's something where you've lost an opportunity to raise funds, so you have to look at doing it some other way. We'll have to study that. What happens after this is this group is going to have to consider everything they're told and say, what do we want to do about the area we're talking about based on the information we have. So that's what we'll have to do, and we'll have to face you with that information, but with what we choose to do with it. That's why we want to hear from you. Is there an ulterior motive? No. Okay?
Thank you.
Question here. If there's no outside developer, then how are we going to finance this?
I'm sorry. If there's no outside developer, how are we going to
Where's
finance
the
what?
financing coming from?
There is no financing. The infrastructure is already there. That's the reason why this is attractive to somebody thinking of building. The water and the drainage and everything is already there. So when people look at it, it's like laying out a subdivision for free. So the arguments...
So would an Hall area be beneficial then, since it's already cemented pad and all of the plumbing and everything's in there, because it is a residential right beside the church, it's all down Green Street?
I missed the first part.
The Elks Hall or
Oh,
even
there's
the
lots of,
Elks
oh
Hall?
no, this isn't the solitary only, this is what we're talking about tonight. And people have mentioned other places in the community, and guess what? We'd like somebody to start investing. We're giving away lots for $1, but nobody's walking and standing in line to take them either. We get some going, we're trying to get, as a council, trying to get a momentum where we can get some growth in the community and not just lose. So looking at ways to do it. But if this turns out not to be the way, we will be looking. We know, like we put the lots up for $1. We know that we'll do whatever we can to develop the community. And you're right, the preferred way would be to use all of the lots we have that are already now set up now and get somebody in each and every one of them. Absolutely. But if people won't take that way, that's why we're saying, well, will they take this way? Now, that's one of the questions. The other side is...
There's no.
What did you say?
With regards to the financing, yes, the infrastructure's there. Who's going to pay for the buildings that are being built?
Well, you sell the lot.
Like for you're saying there's gonna be multifamily housing, is that low income housing? Is that
Senior housing.
senior housing?
Yeah, we're-
Who's putting the money up front first?
Mike, let me answer that.
Thank you.
Nobody, because nothing's happening. There's no agreement.
If it was going to happen,
agreed
Mike,
upon.
Then the
where's the money coming from?
developer.
There is a
An
cost.
outside developer.
Just a second, the cost.
But we don't have one.
The cost
Yes.
for lots is surveying, absolutely, and so for us to sell a lot, we would 100% have to pay for the surveying, which is $2,000 to $3,000 approximately. And then the lots would go up, and then you would sell the lots based on what we deemed feasible or how much we thought they were worth. And then the person that buys that lot develops the lot, the water works to the lane, to the main.
But
That's how it
so
works.
creating new lots though, and you already have lots for $1 not being
Yeah.
sold, why do you know that these would be sold? How do you know that?
Well, you don't, and so the thing is with the infill lots, as George said, they're not desirable in a lot of locations, and some of the lots are smaller. So when the land developer came up, he mentioned all the other properties that we had. So this is where this conversation kind of came from. So it does not cost the city anything until somebody says, hey, we'd like to actually buy a lot on Kingsway. We can't even do that right now as it's zoned as a park. So the first step would have to be to zone it as residential. So that's kind of where we are. So it literally doesn't cost anything unless somebody says we want to buy it. And we're not even at that
North
point.
Avenue Park, nobody uses that area. Why
Pardon
can't you
me?
build it up in North
Can't hear
Avenue
you.
Park?
To build individual lots on North Avenue?
On the North
There's-
Avenue
yeah,
ballpark.
There's,
Small park there, nobody ever
Yeah.
uses that area. Nobody goes over there. Why
Yeah.
can't you build up in there instead of ripping down our trees?
well, that's an option too. There's lots of options, so this was just one
It
option.
seems-
It's an extremely desirable area.
It seems to me this was proposed from somebody that you said you had a developer come and look at some
Yes.
point in the past. and
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
area
Yeah, for
by the
sure.
lakefront, so
Yeah.
in knowing that, doing these lots, you
Yeah.
know that there's gonna be somebody that's gonna end up developing one of those areas.
And to back that up,
Yeah.
Darren,
Maybe.
There's also the lot on Bone Street there,
Yeah.
where the truck and field was.
Mhm.
Why can't you build up there? There's drainage system in there already.
I live there,
Yes,
my office is next door, it's a great lot,
right.
but it's only 40 feet wide, and I think probably that's what's stopping people who really want to, move in a home or build there, because those infill lots, some of them are really narrow. But I'm
There's no
gonna tell
infill,
you,
there's
that's a great lot.
It's a bulk.
It is.
or
That's a
whatever.
great lot, it's a great street to live on. somebody here, spread the word. Somebody should be buying that lot for $1, sign on the dotted line for 2 years to be developed. So we have some infill lots that are
There's
desirable.
also over
And
baseball
just,
diamonds
just
that aren't
one,
being
one,
used.
hold on, one person at a time, because I don't want to talk over you at all. But people really need to take a good look at the infill lots as well. But let's face it, there are a lot of people who don't want to build on an infill lot. They want a 50-foot wide lot, they want it already serviced, and they want something new. And so this is an idea that's there and it's already serviced. But we're listening, and I'm done with my comment.
I just want to make a comment about the development plan, because they're obviously here the last 2 days and we've been advertising it. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I also want to acknowledge the presentation and stuff, like great points to think about 100% and very well spoken. It's not easy, just saying. So that development plan and those planners are actually a grant. What's the grant? MMDF, so we're not paying for that. And they come into your community and they toss out these ideas so that we can present them to developers and say, hey, we would like to build an art center here. This is what it might look like. Oh, we want to advance Channing. So I just wanted to, because that was one of your questions, Shauna, so I just wanted to acknowledge what that was about. Pine Bridge was also a question, and yeah, it's not a sidewalk to nowhere. We do have a plan. So when we were first elected, we came into a lot of financial issues. It took us 2 years and fire summer to get a plan for next year. And so, yeah, we need an engineering study. We're not allowed to build anything. We can't just drop it in anymore. We will be charged, the government will come in, especially because there's water there, so we can't do that. So that is why we have to do the engineering study. They've been here, they looked at that bridge, they looked at the boardwalk bridge, and they looked at Highway 291 for us as well. So 3 things at one time. And there will be a plan in place. We're just waiting to get 2 different quotes from them. So one a walking bridge and one a driving bridge. So we can see what we can do there. But absolutely, something is getting done with that. So I'm glad that you asked that as well.
I have another question.
Sure.
Since it wasn't really answered on. So the other development for the multifamily dwellings, who decides what those are? Is that the developer, the people, if they were rezoned, whoever comes in and builds the apartment complex or whatever's going to be sitting there? Or is that a decision made by the town council?
So in the end, we would be the ones making the decision based on the proposal made to us. And we do know that we need more multifamily dwellings in this community.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, it means, the last
Is it an apartment
proposal,
building?
well,
Or
can I explain that to you?
Yeah.
Okay. The last proposal made to us was just simply apartments. They were not strictly seniors, they were not any designated, they were designated apartments. And they were anything from 1, and mostly 1 and 2 bedrooms is what they talked about. Now that did not go ahead because of a lack of funding or financing that didn't happen there. It didn't go ahead for a few reasons, but I mean, that's the main one, that we didn't go forward. But no, the same thing, we do need housing. It may not be this like single family housing, it may not be this location, but the area needs housing. And when it comes to multifamily housing, we're gonna have to pick a spot or potentially several spots and say yes to them so that we can have more people living here. My preference, my simple preference, and everybody knows it is, I don't want to see any apartment blocks. I want to see houses going up in every spot we can. Any way we can do that, that's what makes this town work. Is regular taxpayers like yourselves living, paying what you do and getting what you get. That's what makes this town run, not apartments, because they don't share enough of the cost, quite frankly, you know,
Right.
to carry their own weight.
Yeah.
Okay? But, I mean, that's how the world works, and we're not in control of that. But to have a good, healthy society, we need single-family homes or smaller units like that, because that's how our tax system is made, and that's how our tax system functions properly, okay? And then by doing that, like I said, then we can choose to say, all right, we do want proper policing, we do want extra parks, we got more parks in this town than almost anywhere in the world on a per capita basis. We got 14 or 15 little parks around town. They're
This is
everywhere.
one of the nicest
Not all
ones.
fully developed. But, so the fact is that for all the amenities we got out there, you guys and me, we're the ones paying for it. So we have to choose to do that. If we choose to go the route you're talking about and not use some of these things, that's fine. You just have to understand that the money you don't make is money you have to pay, because that's gotta come from somewhere. If you're willing to do that, and I am willing to do it with my place, then we continue the way we are, and I'm happy with that. And as long as we're all happy with that, we understand that don't come back a week later and say my taxes are $50 more than I want them to be, and say, why am I paying for this park? Well, you have to pay for it because that's what you want, get it? So as long as you know where you fit in this puzzle and you're going with the mindset you have, I applaud you, it's wonderful. Just understand that it has a financial impact whether you go forward or you don't go forward and all of these things. And if you're comfortable with that, which I am, then we're okay. Then you understand why you're doing what you're doing and what the answers for that are. Does that make sense, or am I rambling?
No, but the apartment building is a really good thing that George is talking about. So think about special service levy. That's your recreation, and that's basically what we're talking about. So recreation, snow removal, and fire is our special service levy, and that is $1,000 right now. So apartment buildings, according to the Municipal Act and the law, we can only charge them one special service levy. So everybody should write the provincial government and complain about that, because you're paying $1,000 and you're paying $1,000, and that 200 apartment or 100 apartment is paying $1,000. So
Well, it shouldn't be built, but it is.
exactly, so they should be paid. And so what George is saying is that we're trying to push individual housing. We recognize that we do need transitional senior housing. Every community needs it, we really need it.
Yeah.
But we also need these infill lots, so the dollar lots. We sold a couple in Channing, and then we did rezoning for that. And it was great, so somebody could build a tiny home, because we had a pre-zone, I think it was 900 square feet you had to build.
Right.
And so we lowered that so we could have, so people could buy that infill lot and put a tiny home in. We recognize how expensive it is. But yet that person is gonna help towards that special service levy and our taxes. So this is kind of where all of these conversations, and I was here 4 years ago when there was a public meeting, and I come to this tonight, and I just have to say this personally, I was dreading this, and because I remember sitting, where you guys are sitting and just being frustrated at the disrespect to the community. So I just want to say that I appreciate everybody and their ideas, and I really enjoyed how this has turned out so far. Even if we agree or don't agree, this is what it's about, us listening to you guys, so I appreciate everybody being respectful.
Nothing has been, there's no decision.
No.
That's what we're here for, is to hear
Yeah.
what you folks have said. And boy, some of the people here have been so eloquent with their words, and it's incredible. It's really something, but
Can I follow that?
nothing, this is just information.
Nothing's, to follow that, we've had people start to express an opinion as to what we're gonna do with this, and we've said, within council, and we've said, stop. We have not heard from the people, we have not had the discussion. Don't voice your opinion and take yourself into a corner before we have our conversations. Now, I can't tell you which way to go after, because we'll sit down and we'll have to make a decision. But it makes a big difference having a group come up and say how they feel about it when you're making a decision. So it was not, absolutely not made, a decision was not made prior to your being in this room. That's why we're here, that's why we're doing it. And to echo what you said, it is such a civilized discussion that we're having. That's what we're looking for here, and that's how the whole process is supposed to work. So we do appreciate that, and we are listening. So if there are more speakers, please.
So if you guys do want single-family residential homes, correct? You must have had an abundance of people coming in and requesting lots in this area.
In this particular area?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
So why this area?
They'll just finish telling you because somebody put up a suggestion that might be an
An
easy.
outside developer?
Yes.
Yeah, and so, it's coming out and you're looking at it, and so what do? You feel out the proposition. That's how this is supposed to work. So that's what we're doing, okay? There is no decision made, because if there was, why the hell would we ask you all to sit here? That would be kind of a, redundant move. Yes, for you.
Sorry, I just wanted to speak to Councilor Eagle.
Yes.
mentioned about the infill lots and the size of them. And I do recognize that in some of the areas of town, and I literally have my homework with me, that might be the scenario. But I am going to say that the 30 lots that are down in the Willowdale, Lakeside, Birchview area are probably the same size as what I'm living on right now, which is what you would be developing there. So I do think that there are options within the community. And then when I did look on the map, in a lot of the areas, especially if you're getting a lot for $1, there are several areas where you have lots side by each. We have 5 beside each other on Adams Street, just behind you there, right? Where I think that there are lots of other options in the community to promote for some of this, and maybe that's something we need to do a better job of. And there's lots that when you look at the map, it's like, oh, like in my entire life, that's just been, I didn't know it was a lot that was available, but it is, right? And so maybe we need to do a better job of promoting that map and what is out there for folks that are looking to build or to stay in our community.
We will promote, as a matter of fact, we've been having discussions, like especially if you have any young people or first-time buyers, we have both. We were just talking tonight prior to you coming in, we have a first-time home buyer program that Ms. Brown is in charge of, so that helps people, young people to get started. And we were also talking, if anybody has any Métis background, they have a program, and those programs can be ganged, can be bunched. So there's good ways for people to do that and can get them started, especially if you're not trying to go into a $600,000 home, but you're ready to start like regular people do in a small place for a small family, you know, like people used to do. Then there's some real opportunities, and we're trying to do that. We're going to be, that'll be part of what Casper is going to be tasked with, although he doesn't know it yet, is that we want to advertise how people can get avail themselves of those things, you know, so that we can enable people to use those, and we're promoting the infill far more, you know, this is, you've seen this, we've talked about this, we're promoting them far more, and we would rather do that anytime than anything else, okay? Any other questions though? Yes?
I haven't heard if it's gonna be retired people or low-income families, that's a big difference. What is it gonna be?
Which one?
I will never vote for the low-income building our community again. That's my personal opinion. I'm not.
Okay, that's not my personal opinion. Just making sure everybody knows that.
That's my personal.
They know my background.
But that isn't, you know, we don't have that kind of proposal, and right now, quite frankly, the funding available for low-income housing is so difficult to work with that nobody's doing it, nobody's done it in the last 20 years, because the amount of funding you get from the government isn't enough to carry you, and the rents you're restricted to don't carry the loans, people can't do it. And so, you know, we've had one kind of a thing on a proposal like that, and that's the building next to the pool was the last one in this town done like that.
So what's the answer? Is it retirement or low income?
It's mixed housing.
What does that mean?
It means that you could be a mature couple, like my husband and I in a few years, well now even, just us, we're a family, and in a unit we might want the 1 bedroom or the 2 bedroom. If you're a young person and you're single, there may be a studio apartment. So it's called mixed housing. We need senior housing as well, so we're trying to be really creative about that and where that can go. But these new buildings that might come up in the future with developers that might be interested, because we don't know that yet, to have that space available for someone that turns up. For example, a few years ago, not this council, but a few years ago, you might recall, I do, as a taxpayer, a developer turned up to the city of Flin at that time, this was a number of years ago, and they were ready to build senior housing. But there was nothing available for them. There were no bylaws that had been proposed for changes, nothing. There was nothing here. And you know where they went? They went to Snow Lake. And they built there instead of building here. And I've seen that housing in Snow Lake, and it's awesome. We miss that. And I'm not blaming or shaming anyone in the past for that. But if we're not ready with bylaws and changes of bylaws just to be ready in case of, we're going to lose out again. So that's part of this for this council, as well as this council coming in deliberately 3 years ago, knowing that HUD Bay's pulling out, And knowing that in 3 years to now, we're gonna be down $2 million in grant in lieu taxes from HUD Bay. We're gonna be down again coming this year. Now, I'm not suggesting that we need to do this to make that up, but we have to be creative. And I also appreciate seeing you all here because we are all creative together in that case. So I appreciate a lot of your comments.
And to follow what George said about affordable housing and how difficult it is, it's the same with seniors housing. It's the same.
It's called senior affordable housing,
Yeah.
and the rules are very, very onerous.
It's very
not
hard to
easy.
make money do it.
Rotary Club tried it, several people, it's just very difficult to come up with the financing to do them. But, like, there's a thing, we want to keep our people living here, but we have to find an affordable way to do it. And in some cases, that mixed housing that they talk about would be the way to do it, which is kind of a Scandinavian model, if you're all aware of it, that they don't just put old people in a room in a place, they mix them up, so that there are actual real people and kids running down the halls, and the same people, the old people.
George, you and I are real people.
I know.
We're old.
Because real old people, but, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, so you can't, we gotta study any option that we get, because we're a remote community, people aren't crying to come here at this point in time. You know, once we start to develop a little more industry, and it's going to happen, that's gonna change. But that transition, like a drop off of what, 700 jobs? And then we're maintaining the style of life that we're used to as best as we can through all of this, and not backing off because we believe that we can come back to where we were before or better. But, you know, there's a cost to doing that, and that's what we're doing. But you have to be upfront with everything. Like, we can't, you know, when you say, do we have secret agendas? There is no secret agenda here. Not in this group. They all came in here for a reason, and the reason was to try and help this town to survive. So, you know, we'll keep working at all these things. We take every comment you make, we take them very seriously. So, you know, that's not just lip service. We're taking it seriously. But that's, like, some people said, well, why bother? We're going to see opposition. Yeah, we knew we were going to see opposition, but it's still, this is a process that has to happen if you're going to have a community that's going to continue to thrive and to grow. You better be able to speak to each other and speak through all of these things. Not call each other names and throw things, is do what we're doing now and figure out what's the issue, how do we get past it. So that's what we're working on. I got your message, everybody here got your message. What they do with it is what you'll see in the end, but I mean, you know, that part. But any other questions with respect to this?
Just that, I'm just wondering how often we will revisit this, because, I mean...
This spot?
Well, because I'm sure that probably many of the longtime area residents of this area have filled out petitions before. Like, this is not the first one that's gone around, and I don't know where those go, but they should be somewhere on file here. And I just feel we're back to, and so is this gonna come up again in, you know, 10 years again when, you know, that...
Can I answer that the best of my ability?
Sure.
Okay, these people are sitting here right now, and these people can make a promise as to what's gonna happen while they're still here.
Yeah.
Who's gonna promise what's gonna happen 2 elections from now? I can't. And if anybody told you 3 elections ago that you were never gonna see something again, or this is never gonna happen, what the hell are they thinking? They're not going to be the ones in control. Like, people asked me to make promises way back when we were having discussions about issues in Channing. And they say, you know, will that be good? Well, I said, I mean, if I make a promise to you, it'll be good as long as I'm standing in front of you. But after that, when you know, say, for example, I was followed in here by Cal. What Cal did had nothing to do with what I did. He made his own decisions, and his council made their own decisions. So we can't tell you this is never going to come back. But look, you're good, strong people. You talked to it, you know, you spoke to it once, and if you have to, you know, 10 years from now, speak to it again, Dan.
But just to answer your question directly, sorry, Brad, the documents don't go into to the web. They actually get sent to Winnipeg, and so then the municipal relations take a look at all of our objections, and if they deem it, they will come themselves and have another hearing. So for example, when we were changing the water rates, because the service board said, hey, you have to do it so many, like at this rate. And we didn't necessarily agree, but they set the rates. But the community made, you know, so many complaints that they came up when we had a public hearing. That was because the community complained. And that actually gave us leeway to lower the rates because they listened to the community. So and that makes another point. You have to actually fill out your objection tonight, and hand it into Lynn. You can't do it tomorrow or the next day or email it. You have to do it tonight and give it to her. So then she'll send it to Winnipeg and then Winnipeg. But it really won't go anywhere until if we say we want it to move forward based on what we're thinking
But
from
then
here.
that board has to
Absolutely.
approve it, even if
Yes.
we said, if we did say.
We can't
yes,
decide,
yeah.
they have to decide.
Just
So,
before I let you speak, this as a process is important, yes.
You're talking about green space, you look around Flin now, and the green space we have in our community, every community I go to, and I travel a lot in small communities, the thing I look for the most is their walking trails. Their walking trails are what draws me to the community, and I know every day I see many walkers. That is one of my favorite. And you're gonna tear down the green space, haven't we lost enough bush from the fires? Let's keep our green space in our community here, please.
Thank you. I think that's been, like, I haven't seen, or I haven't heard anything, but one side of this, which gives me a pretty clear feeling how everybody feels in this room. So yeah, we will be tasked with making a decision based on what's been put forward. And when we have to do that, then you will get the result of that, and Eric will have some news, and so will Rob. So, Whippy, that's where it's gonna go from here.
So I just wanted to touch on your comment, your question. It was a good one. A petition is one thing, and a community petition carries some weight, but it doesn't have any weight when it comes to government or legality of that sort of public opinion. And George has already talked about this. Notices of objection are on paper up there. They have to be filled out tonight, not picked up, taken with you. That's according to legislation that we're all under. So anybody here, when we're done tonight, or now if you want, whichever, notices of objection have to be filled out tonight and left there before you leave tonight. Any other petitions, it takes time to do that. It's good to see that, social media and everywhere else. Those don't really carry any weight when it comes to government or changes of bylaws or that sort of thing. So I just wanted to make that distinction.
Thank you.
Because your question was a good one.
But we can certainly attach, like, this whole thing, along with the petition, to your written objection, right?
I guess part of my question was though, where
Yeah,
did that other one go? I mean, there must,
municipal relations,
what?
province, it
Oh.
goes to the province.
The notices of
Regardless of
objection
where
are
it
filled
That
out.
didn't stop somebody from raising it again.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
So
So
I can't
just-
promise you it'll never come up again.
So that's, if you wonder where it goes, it can disappear or it can be sent with the notice of objection by the taxpayer.
Yeah, we're just sort of,
Yeah.
okay, Mr. Sorry, yes?
Yes, yes.
So peripheral but related question, I think a lot of the single-family dwellings, they'll help the tax base in town, for sure. Whatever happened to the initiative of amalgamating Big Island and Schiff's Lake into our tax base?
Whatever happened, well, we never did do it, we never did start.
I know you didn't do it, but you
Nobody
were
did
working
it.
on it.
No, I never was
And
working. No, that was hearsay. I've been here before when that's gone on. That was,
I know, that was 1,000 years ago, but basically the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, they were working at getting funds from surrounding smaller communities to add to their tax base, because we're not unique in the situation of losing our tax base. And that's ultimately the bottom line with maintaining our community, right? We need money to run the place. So, the amalgamation of Big Island Lake, those outlying communities, into our own tax base, you were fighting for that a couple of, was that 10 years ago now?
Can I explain where I was on that, since you bring it up?
Have you basically, have the municipalities given up on that? Because we need money, that's the bottom line. And this is kind of a Band-Aid approach to that, with the possibility of somebody coming in and buying a $30,000 lot, when dollar lots are available. But a quicker solution, to my mind, would be to make sure we amalgamate the surrounding communities that take advantage of what we offer, apart from increasing library fees and pool fees and that sort of stuff. That's, to my mind, small potatoes. But if we can incorporate those into our tax base, we wouldn't have to talk about destroying some of our green spaces.
So I'll tell you, that takes more than, these people have spent a good amount of time here on a particular subject. Yes, there's some merit to what you're saying, and there's some reasons why it hasn't happened, okay? We have never put forward a motion to annex or do anything like that. To this point, we have not done that. The people on the outside have not volunteered to come in and pay for any of the services they're using. It is something that is well worth discussing and well worth going over with a fine-tooth comb. But they have not volunteered to come and be part of us, and they don't want to pay any of the costs that they're, of places that they're using every bit as much as you, okay? So you bring up the subject, yes, they're out there. But if they want some of our services right now, what we'll have to do is sell them at a cost that we think is beneficial to the taxpayer here. I will not give services to outside residents, period. My council won't give them. It'll have to be something, because you're paying full rate for everything you have. They're getting it for nothing by peripheral. They were protected this summer by your firefighters. They never paid for that. Okay, so you bring up a subject, yeah, it's a big subject. And we can go on it forever, but I don't think you're going to start that tonight. And if you want to invite a crowd to talk about that, we'll have a separate meeting. We'll have a lot of fun with it. And we'll invite them to come and talk about it. We won't do it by ourselves. Yes?
First of all, I just want to say that picture's kind of deceiving. Like, the green space that is actually usable is like this-ish. Because like, this is all this like swamp forest. But I do want to say that I'm the only, I guess, disc golfer so far that's spoken up, and that is the first part of our course. And I've played almost every course in Manitoba now, and I have to say ours is the best. And as what Flin actually tries to thrive on now, from my understanding, is tourism. Because we don't have a mine anymore. It'd be nice if like we help promote the golf course that we have on our public land that is free to use for everyone, and actually this city has already spent money on it to help us make a great course. Like, why wouldn't we help that out rather than, I don't know, pardon being jerkish about it, but build a bunch of houses that are just gonna have basements flood every year.
I think that's being a jerk.
That's all I wanted to use it about. Like, we have an astounding course here that's free to use for everyone. And we are willing to plant more trees, get the park back in better shape after all of those dead trees have to be cut down. Like, we want to make the course better and get the park even in better shape than it's ever been in before. And you're going to stick a bunch of crappy houses in that way. Well, okay, not crappy houses. They'll be beautiful as long as they're like this far above ground.
Just an aside, and you're right, we should be promoting that disc golf. How many players are there approximately now for disc golf?
If I can hop in on this.
You'll have them, you definitely.
Yeah, no, I know it's popular. I know it's popular. And you're my favorite because you have a Calgary St. Peter hat on, right?
So I'm Brian Garrett. I'm the designer of the course, current president of the disc golf club. It's tough for me looking at that picture because all I see is a bunch of houses stuck on hole one. And for me, it's a little bit difficult because I'm told that there is a reason and that there's a need for it. And I can understand that there's a need for more tax money. I can see the infrastructure in our town falling apart. I can understand that There's need for good housing. I don't understand why it needs to be right there, and I haven't really heard a reason. I've heard numbers thrown around like 2 million that we're short, and then I've heard numbers like in bringing 20,000. Well, that's a start, but it's not a great start. I'm sure we could figure something else out. As for people using it in town, the club, like actual club people that come out, it can be between 10, 15 people. I've seen larger numbers. When multiple years ago we threw a tournament, we had 30 people. We had people come up from Winnipeg. As Matt said, ratings are different, but to a lot of people that have come up from places like Winnipeg and all of that, say that this is one of, if not the best course in Manitoba. We have a member who's played, I believe, hundreds of golf courses, including some of the major ones across the United States that like the major championships are on. He said that this is still in his top 10 favorite courses. We do have people come from out of town. We do have stats. They're not huge numbers. This is the thing. I can't stand up here and say, keep this course because it's going to bring you in a ton of money. But it is a popular course. It's a known course, and we've been working. We have companies that are sponsoring us, that have helped us. Most of all this has been most all the money's been brought in by the club itself. We've had Reliance Industries helping us dig in concrete pads that can be better experienced because that was a problem that we've had. We're constantly trying to make it better and to make it the definitive best course. We've actually got goals that we've been working with the Parks and Rec Department to hopefully try and combine a large tournament that we'd advertise, like have a decent purse advertised, bring people in. Because the thing is, you might hear say, oh, this is the best course in Manitoba, but what does that really mean? We want to try to attract some people up here. We're trying to actually say, let's line it with like the Blueberry Jam or something big that Flin Flon does so that we can actually bring the community together. So again, to me, when I sit here, I see that, I'm like, why are we sticking 10 houses in the middle of something that Flin Flon has that's a standout and wonderful thing? Yes, will it bring in $20,000 by itself? Probably not. But the important thing is it's something that Flin Flon has that doesn't really cost it anything, that brings people together. When we go out disc golfing, we cross people all the time. It's not just us using it. It's kids, it's adults, runners, walkers, everything. And it's just, to me, it's very difficult. I can understand. I just hope that the city council looks at all the other options and weighs them and really looks at what is this going to, because who's going to buy those houses? It's not that all of a sudden 10 new people are coming into town paying taxes. It's going to be somebody from another area, probably more affluent, moving into those areas. So how much of this tax are we really going to raise up? Are we going to drop the value of these homes because now we've got apartments and they're not out looking over a park anymore? What are the actual consequences of it and the financial, because we throw these numbers around, but what is the actual? So I just really, really hope that we take a look at that and say, is this the option that we need? Or are there other options and we can keep what we already have? That's the best I can say.
Everyone knows here you're always passing someone in that park, including the students at the school. We talk to the Kaiser School, they're using it for their fitness classes, they're connecting, they're doing their walking club. So it's not just people in the area using it, it's actually drawing people from the whole community to the area to use it as a fitness purpose, as I'm sure Kate talks about. Even next year she's talking about maybe with the bridge happening, hopefully. I did the petition on that. Just seeing that loss and not connecting with the seniors and the other areas of the community. So if we're promoting healthy communities, that is also something that we need to bring forward.
Yeah, but that bridge was actually.
The bridge is.
Yeah.
We know it's on our radar. We're going to do something. $2 million spent on a fire sort of holds, and not that we're not going to get that money back, by the way, but you know, it hinders things a little bit. And so trust us that the bridge has not been forgotten, and that's why that sidewalk's there, because it's for buses and for people to access it from the bridge to Queen Street. So, you know, and that's another aside.
Rental bridge, right?
I
mentioned it yesterday, Mike.
Thank you.
Just a second, somebody access it.
I have a question / concern. Part of it is for especially the apartments in the middle of the park, parking. Would that be would that have to be an extra set of parking lot, or would they be parking on the street per se? Because we're directly on Kingsway, it's not a wide street. So to add that extra traffic on there, the street may have to be widened, which is an extra cost, just something to think about. Or is more of the park gonna have to be taken away for a parking lot for apartments?
There are no apartments planned for anywhere near that area that I know of.
But she's talking about
She's
that
talking,
end.
we're talking about on the end?
That end. But
On
the
the
house
very
is
end?
the end.
The house is where the road where Kingsway is, hasn't been taken into consideration that the road would have to be widened, because right now you can barely get 2 vehicles down it. So is that property will actually be shortened, because that actually road would need to be widened?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I'll take that. So my name is Flin and I've been the CEO for some time now, I'm the treasurer. Anything, if there was a proposal that came from a developer, we would have to do a traffic study, the developer would have to do a traffic impact study. And so then that study would be done, we would find out then if we needed to widen road.
And where we have been falling down. I have talked to them more than one occasion about the state of my back lane. I'm one back lane of how many in town? And it's a disgrace. So if the city got more objective to looking around the community and making people clean up their back alleys, clean up their lots, maybe some of those empty lots would be more feasible for people to build on. Because right now you go down Green Street and how many lots empty, or pardon me, they're not empty, but they're building lots that would be suitable for good housing development that have pontoon boats, trailers, cedars, you name it, sitting on them. Like, this is a main thoroughfare and you've got that crap. Who wants to build 2 doors down from that?
We have, you're talking about Green Street?
Okay, and that's just one street that you see that on.
I'm trying to explain something to you because you asked the question. What we have control of, we don't allow for that. Now, I can name one lot on Green Street where the guy went and sold his, took his house away with him, sold the lot to the neighbor. Now the neighbor has the parking lot you're talking about. There's nothing we can do about that because he bought a piece of property he does with, as that person does with as they choose. Now, we do not let people, we don't sell people like our dollar lots. That doesn't, you can't ask for the dollar lot next to you so you can throw up a garage and park your stuff there. We don't want to do that because of the very reason you're talking about. So we're doing everything we can within our ability as a council to be able to control things. A lot of things are out of our control, there's nothing we can do about it, and like you, we have to live with them. That's all.
Well, I've talked to the bylaw enforcement officer, and there are many violations alone in my back lane, and nothing has been done about them. Nothing.
The bylaw officer is supposed to do that.
Exactly. And nothing's happened.
Well, we'll take note of our bylaw officer and that whole problem.
I've come to Flin and Bill Wilson on the
Just a second, you know, I just want to say something here. We're here about this, okay? And I'm not gonna keep everybody here all night talking, like I cut Tom off on his question, and I'm saying, if it's about this, okay, otherwise I'm gonna end the meeting very soon, because I don't think there's a whole lot more, unless there's something new that has not been said. Yes, Rob?
Just when you said about CASTA making a decision, is there kind of a time frame that you're looking at?
I don't know what the time frame is. I was gonna ask Ms. Brown that.
I'm not 100% sure about the time frame either, Rob, because we are going to have to send all of this to the planning department, and they're going to go through it, and then they'll get back to us, and so it could take some time for us to get to the point where we can even talk about it.
So it's not next week, okay?
Do I understand it, so would you just put some information on the city website then, or?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can do a bit of a time frame update on the city website once we have more information.
And if there are any other questions or any other comments, let them please be referenced towards this, and then your second, Eric, not first. Yes?
Okay, has anybody factored in the environmental impact of developing right on the creek? I know there's people in the community that have recently started cleaning out Ross Lake from all the garbage. And I've noticed over the years, the dump sites that we do have for snow in the winter is the one there by where that bike park was, and the other one by the other bridge farther down the creek, just off of Green there, down by that other apartment complex. And you get a lot of runoff, obviously, see from snow piles and whatever garbage is collected in the snow from people's properties and whatever. So in the development of this area here, you're gonna have similar things happening, and then just increased pollution in general from having potentially an apartment building and people's properties and everything right on a waterway essentially. So because it connects right all the way through out to schist and everything.
Yeah, we'll take note of that for sure. And recognize that those are two separate things that we're discussing. The housing, the single family and the multiple housing are two separate issues right here. So you should be aware of that. When we discuss them, we will discuss them as two separate issues. Eric?
From a bylaw perspective, I know obviously the results from this meeting will give you a lot to chew on. Council will either vote in favor or not in favor on second and third reading, I believe it is, it's still left. Can you walk us through a little bit about what happens next after this meeting, and what would happen if council were to vote in favor of it, or if they were to vote against? Can you tell us what we'd be looking at for that?
Well, if they vote in favor of it, then we follow through doing the change, then the bylaw change. The bylaw change, then the zoning, and then of course then we start marketing the lots if we follow through with it. If we don't follow through it, it's dead in the water.
Okay, so if anybody was going to buy one of these lots from the city, what would the process then be like? Would there be public meetings after that? Would there need to be new bylaws?
Eric, I'm not doing that tonight because this is hypothetical right now. Like, it's too far away. I'm not going through a process. Sorry, I'm not doing this one.
My feelings are so hurt, George.
We're not at that point.
We're not there.
I'm just talking in relation to your conversation, like you said, what's gonna happen. So if the council votes in favor, but what about all our objections? Does that not have any influence on that?
Of course it does.
You said we don't care.
So
He said,
basically,
what if one way?
oh, excuse me,
No, that
basically,
wasn't his
He
question.
said, what if one way and what if the other? So I tried to answer both. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't say we're going one way. I said, like.
Yeah.
so
I was
basically,
just asking about ifs.
okay, so basically what you're saying is pending the results of the objections.
Then
the council will decide.
Not just the results of the objections. Council has not voted on what they're gonna do with this. Council, I told you, I'll say this one more time, has very purposely not made an initial decision prior to putting it in front of you. We did not have a predisposed answer or even a spoken leaning amongst the council. We did not do that. We said, well, make sure if you have an opinion, keep it to yourself until we hear from the people, and then we'll have our discussion, okay? So we have not had a discussion amongst ourselves as to, concretely, what are the yeas and what are the nays to the argument. We'll have them after this meeting, but there is no decision made. We will do that, that's part of the process. And you will hear as soon as we have something, and we'll give it to you.
I think for Leslie's question, I think what would have to happen is, again, we're going ifs and buts, if council voted in favor, but there was a big push from all these objections, then the province is gonna say to you, oh, council, why are you guys approving this? There's been 55 objections written from that public hearing. You need to look at it again. They'd come back up here, they would do this again, and they would host it, they would run it and mediate it, and then that would be an opportunity, I would just say, I guess, for potentially more people. If someone say, well, what happens if they're not here tonight? Well, then if there was a second public hearing, you make sure everybody's there, would be my advice to you. I just had one quick question. I wasn't gonna, it seems really dumb to ask, but I wanna ask, because I'm the devil's advocate. Is anyone here in favor of these proposals? I didn't think so. I'm just gonna ask. Okay.
Flynn, correct me if I'm wrong. If that is what Council Devon was talking about and municipal relations came up, they can actually not give us approval.
That's right.
Yeah.
So even if we said yes, which is hypothetical, Eric, don't print that. Even if we said yes and they agreed with all of you and didn't agree with us, they could kibosh it. So they actually have to approve any rezoning we do. Even when somebody sends in a request to make their fence, we have to get permission from them. So they can always veto us. So yes, they do listen, and if they have a problem, they can veto us.
So basically with these parks being zoned as P&R, Parks and Recreation, it's a little bit harder to get zoning for residential houses passed, since we all have this objection. objection, and hopefully everybody feels those objections here. And hopefully our speeches are noted too, like everyone here has said such wonderful things about this park, which we love.
If you want to know if you're showing up as effective, and if you're getting your opinion across, and if you're actually leading your council in the right direction, look at the zoo that's still there, okay? So that's part of your answer. So, like I said, it's a process. We have to go through the process. I can't give you an answer until we've gone through the process. We will go through it, and then, then we'll answer whatever questions come from whatever the hell we do, But that's how that ends up, okay? Can I stop this now? Because I think we're going in circles. I want to thank you all very much for coming out. I think the feelings are clear.